Namaste everyone. My name is Vishwanath and I welcome you to this session on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Today we will research chapter 3, verse 33 to 35. Even a wise man acts in conformance with his or her own nature. Likewise, other beings follow their own nature, which is Prakriti. What suppression can creatures accomplish? You cannot suppress Prakriti. Attraction and repulsion find their foundations in the senses and are nourished by the senses. Verily, they come in the way of those that cannot them. Excellence in one's own value system, even if devoid of merit, is better than discharging others' duties. It is better to die following one's own natural state rather than performing another's activity in a state of fear. What is Sri Krishna trying to say?
A wise man acts in conformance with his or her own natural state. What is natural state? Natural state is Swadharma. This natural state comes with various layers. One is, of course, what you can see. Second is what I experience. Third is the way in which I function. Now, let me, if you, at the subtlest level is, I'm a male. I will take the qualities of a male into every action that I do. My all my actions will essentially, quintessentially take the nature of the male. So let's take the nature of the male and look at it in some detail. So to look at male, we'll also need to look at female. I am not making this sexist. Please do not misunderstand me. I'm trying to kind of uh, talk about the natural state of every of anything. The natural state of a male is more static. It's more. Uh, it's not. While if you see, let's start from the dress. Most ladies would wear a multitude of dresses, jewelry, and other things. So the thing is that the way they manifest is very different from the way men manifest. Females have the ability to do multitasking. Men generally are more, uh, they tend to be more, they're more sedentary or inertia.
No tasking.
So the thing is that you'll find a male more happy in front of the TV than in the kitchen. I could never help my children with homework. It just was out. I just couldn't do it. So the point I'm making is that the natural state of the male and the female are different. There's no point in fighting it. It is a nature. It's the natural state. Yes, Lata madam.
So is it to do with the conditioning also?
That's partly to do with the conditioning. But if you will see, the conditioning is layered on the natural state. That is the beauty of Dharma in India. Let us take, now that you raised the subject of natural state, and let's then integrate that with Dharma. When we marry, the girls, especially in the Tamilians, the sari that the girl gets is called Kura Padava. Kura means what? Roof. What it essentially means is that the roof is her own. She is going from her father's house to her own home. She is not going to her in-laws' home. This is something that we don't understand properly. So many of the marriage rituals today, which are sampradaya driven, are will talk about the child going to the in-laws house. No, the child goes to her own house. That is why it's called Kura Padava. That's the first part. Second part is when the girl I mean, when they are basically the marriage is called yajna or a sacrifice. When the sacrifice happens, the new couple will need a fire to start the sacrifice. Where does the fire come from? Who lights that first fire? That first fire is lit by the bride's mother. And where does the bride's mother get that fire from? She gets it from her own heart. So that is why the girl is called Grihani, and her fire is called Grahyagni. And all the fires, all sacrifices that are done in the house are always lit by the lady. Which is why after the during Griha Pravesha, the fire that is used for Upasana is the fire that is given by the bride's mother, which is why we conduct the marriage in the girl's house. Girl's house is not for any reason except for that. The fire comes from the girl's mother, which means what? Dharma is matrilineal. That is, the way the family runs is driven by the female. The natural harmony of the house is run by the female, which is the natural state that Sri Krishna is talking about. See how beautifully these our samskaras, sampradayas, and other things have been molded by the rishis. This we don't understand, unfortunately. Now, have I answered your question, Lata madam?
Yes, sir. Yes, yes. Very nicely, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so then attraction and repulsion find their foundation in the senses and are nourished by the senses. Verily, they come in the way of those that cannot understand them. So, I mean, I just spoke about repulsion and attraction. These are dualities. I like, I dislike. This is good, this is bad. So, those likes and dislikes come from our natural state. That is, so the base is we are human beings. Above that base of being a human being, you have the male and the female. Above that, the separation happens. The male the male thinks in the way the nature of the male thinks. So the dharma of the male will always be superimposed on the dharma of the masculine nature. The dharma of the female will always be superimposed on the way on the natural state of the female. Above that is the way the child has been taught in school. So here let us go into greater detail. The the our DNA comes from our parents. So my Y chromosome comes from my father, X chromosome from my mother. Gotra is Y chromosome. So my Gotra and Pravara tell me where I have come from, which Rishi I have come from. I can in fact trace my base right back to 3700 BC. I have done the research. Now that is the Y chromosome. The X chromosome comes from the mother. Dharma comes from the mother. What she is, how she runs the way, the house will determines the way I have my fundamental instinct. So whatever I am talking about today is predominantly given to me by my mother. My father is the anchor. He is the static principle because that's the masculine principle. He is there. He will not talk much. He will say also one or two things which will go deep inside. But the rest of the let me put it this way, no. The bhelpuri, if we have bhelpuri, the container is the main. The bhelpuri, the inside stuff, everything, the taste, everything that comes, everything that drives the senses is the female. So, my parents have given me the DNA. The first thing that happens to the child is the mother. The mother is always with the child. So, all my dharma has come to me from my mother. If she was happy, that impacted me. Because when I was small, what happened? I had my CMOS, or my input output system, BIOS, is what? Crying, sleeping, shitting, and sleeping, and my basic ablutions. But every time my mother was stressed, that stress would impact me. Why? Because I don't know anything else. I had no other world. Everything was my mother, which is also the reason why Dharma is the female. She is the one who has, at least for the first 3 4 years, taught me everything I am. Dharma is driven by the female. My father definitely did have a lot to do, but it's a more of a static principle because I never really saw him for that long. He was busy working, but without that, this would not function. So, in a sense, there is an indirect. It is not as apparent as one would think it is, but the apparent feature is the female. Then I went to school. The first teacher I went to, even today, I remember Molly Fernandez in Don Bosco High School in Chennai, in Mumbai. She was my first teacher and the one I never forgot because it is the first database you get that is different from what you are used to. Then you have your friends. All of this begin to influence your value system, what you think is right and what you think is wrong. And as you grow, and up to the age of 15, 16, 17, this value system begins to slowly congeal. It becomes solidified. And that drives your sense of right and wrong, good and bad. That drives your duality, accepting, rejecting, good, bad, right, wrong. And that is what he is saying here. Attraction and repulsion find their foundation in the senses and are nourished by the senses. So you've already got that sense of right and wrong, and the senses that you see get their base there, but they then propel you into reacting in the way you react. So excellence in okay, the last part, the verse 35. Excellence in one's own value system, even if devoid of merit, is better than discharging other people's duty. Now, there is something that is very different between our dharmic system and the Abrahamic system. In our dharmic system, we say that no matter what you are, whatever you are, if you are good at it, just continue doing it. However, the Abrahamic system says that your system, if you do not follow our system, you are following an improper system. Our system is not competitive. Why? What is the premise on which this whole thing works? The whole thing works on one fundamental principle, and that is that the objective of living are four: artha, kama, dharma, and moksha. Artha and kama are form and function. There's a physical element and there is a sensual element. If these two are not in harmony, there is no, you will never be congruent or you will never like something. Dharma is the foundation on which you actually function, control, order, harmony. Moksha is the merger with the infinite void or Brahman. What our system says is that if you continue to do what you are comfortable in doing, you will then have the ability to slowly go from Annamaya Kosha to Pranamaya Kosha to Manomaya Kosha to Vijnanamaya Kosha and ultimately merge with the Brahman. So, regardless of what you are, where you are, and how you are, if you continue to do what you are good at doing or what you're comfortable in doing, the sense of self will slowly merge into the Brahman. And why does it say that you must not change? Because the minute you change into something else, the first thing that happens is anxiety because your sense of self gets badly ruptured. There is conflict. This conflict leads to turbulence, anxiety, loss of sense of self worth. And when that happens, your ability to come back to equilibrium is debilitating. When that happens, then it becomes very hard for you to merge with the Brahman. And you then get trapped in the world of Maya. And that is why Sri Krishna says it is better for you to do what you are good at doing. Excellence in one's value system, even if devoid of merit. Now, for instance, everything does not need to have an outcome. You can continuously do something, talk to somebody, and try to add value. Let me be very candid. There are only 5 people in the class today. The YouTube system, there are only 131 subscribers. And last week's class, only some handful, maybe 50, 20 people saw it. What I'm trying to say is that I could easily be stopped doing it. Boss, there's no, nothing is happening, it is not going anywhere. For as long as I think that way, then I'm creating karma. For as long as I don't think that way and I do it, regardless, two things happen. One is I add value to myself, I add value to, hopefully, I add value to others. So, it is better to die following one's own natural state than performing another's activity in a state of fear. So, when you perform something that somebody else says you should perform and you really don't want to do it, your outcome is always going to be suboptimal. And this we can see in offices. When a person comes to work because he needs the job, he will never function as to the best of his or her own ability. And that is where the person's um, output is damaged, and as a result, the person's sense of self worth gets damaged. When you do not perform to the best of your ability, your sense of asmita or sense of self worth will get damaged. And this is what Sri Krishna is trying to say in this particular section, that is 33 to 35. I'm going to stop here and take final questions. If there are any questions, please do ask.
We have to internalize it. I think often it requires a couple of more listening to your recording, which is why I always ask for the recordings. So sometimes in one session, I'm not able to take everything in. But
Okay.
how do we go to the next step is the big question. And that's often the challenge. We are always caught in so many things, and then we just run in one direction or the other. When we are in the class, we try to focus, at least I am. But when we go out of the class, again, we are in the routine stuff. We have to get over that. I mean, there's no
But,
two ways.
but let me ask you a question. That's your dharma. The thing is, the way you have been conditioned is
Yeah,
what is coming out now. In the sense that there is a dichotomy, there is a conflict which is happening inside. I know this is I've been I was born and I've been brought up in a particular manner, and I'm getting inputs in a particular direction.
right.
There is a conflict happening because there is a
Constant.
structural change. Your dharma needs to change. There is a structural change requirement, and the structural change requirement requires sacrifice.
Yeah,
But to make that sacrifice, you need to put in that effort. And when you put in that effort, there is a fear. Is my outcome in that particular direction, in the right direction? So that fear is continuously stopping you, making you hesitate in committing to change.
yeah,
See, the entire business of Srimad Bhagavad Gita is a manual of change, how to manage change. And the fundamental problem is structural. The dharma that you are in is the dharma that is also stopping you from changing.
yeah. Very true.
So the only way you can do that is to stop fighting it. The only way you can do this is to make it 24/7, to make it a part of your existence by not fighting it, by trying to be at a state where you are at peace, you are not agitating others, and you are not getting agitated within yourself. So, the level of dharma that you have, the kind of modulation of your frequencies are beginning to get closer to your natural state, which is what he's talking about, the natural sense identity. Who am I? That natural state of Purusha. When you do that, then slowly you begin to merge. Your need for Vijnanamaya Kosha reduces. So one is
Right.
adding value, which is Annamaya Kosha is compromised, it becomes less. Pranamaya Kosha is where the prana begins to settle down. Manomaya Kosha is where there is no agitation in your amongst your senses and you are beginning to slowly calm down. Vijnanamaya Kosha is when your need for external affirmation reduces. When that happens and it becomes the Purusha becomes zero, you merge. This is the thing that always we have a problem with. Don't worry, even I'm struggling with the
I
same
know.
problem.
Yeah, but we are making
Oh,
progress. I mean, consciously we tell ourselves uh, we just leave things as they are. We don't have to. But like you said, Swadharma, so we have to do what we have to do as a duty, but at the same time live above that. We try,
without
but I don't
expectation
think.
of result.
Yeah, but I don't think none of us is at 100% or even 20, 20, 30% anywhere. I don't know, but
I don't even say I'm 5% also not there. It's a, because I view it as 24/7. For 24/7, if I'm not able to manage my time in that particular manner for more than 5, 8, 10 minutes, then how can
right,
I say my efficiency is more than 2 or 3%?
true. Yeah, it's a
What
challenge.
about,
Yeah,
yeah, Kala madam, what about you? Any closing comments?
Sir, what I was thinking when you were explaining, I was thinking about Lord Krishna only. Every time he reinforces the same thing, and the learner is listening as if he is listening for the first time. And when you see on an average Bhagavad Gita, various chapters, it is repeated from
Yes.
second chapter, from Sankhya till that 18. It goes on, getting repeated. Even in chapter 18, again, it is the consensus of the entire thing. I think we need so many revisions, and then, but there are changes
The
over a period of,
subtleties.
yeah,
The subtleties.
over a period of time, there would be so many people in the system telling that you are a changed person. It will come, but it needs so much of practice. But I'm so grateful to God that you are explaining in a very scientific way, like, with definition and repeating the same things again and again. Asmita, after telling 100 times again, what is Asmita, then okay, this is that, then what is Dharma, okay, then what are the four types, all that, it comes. And uh, uh, such a dedicated person you are, and you're teaching us with so much of interest. So we'll have to learn, we have to be better learners. That is the key. I think that's a takeaway. We should practice diligently.
I hope so. And I hope those good wishes enable me also to progress.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Lata madam, any last comments?
The way you reinforce class after class, every single thing, so patiently with us. I'm hoping it will help in the long run.
Okay. Okay. Ramon sir, anything to say or shall I close down?
Yeah, yeah, I think we need to be reminded again and again when uh, Krishna is doing it and you're also doing it. So every time listen the same things only. The same idea comes again and again every chapter,
Yeah,
and
that is true.
I
There
think
is not much. Actually, it's very simple. The concept is very simple. It's the application that is the problem.
it's the most how to do it is the problem. We know what to do,
Mm.
but we don't know how to do.
No, we also know how to do, but doing it is the problem. We don't do it. That
Yeah,
is the
how to implement it. See,
yeah.
we also know what is to be done. At the same time, It's just like diving. You're scared to dive, so
Yes,
you
yes,
don't know.
absolutely, absolutely.
Just about to
Uh,
scared to dive. So you're just
yes,
right at the place.
swimming.
Someone has to push you from behind, then you have to fall. But otherwise,
But then you have to swim. It is a
then you have to
swimming
swim.
activity done by you.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true. Okay. Thank you.
Let us recap verses 33 to 35. What is natural state? Natural state or dharma is a state where we are in equilibrium. Equilibrium means that place where there is no turbulence and we are at peace with ourselves and with our environment. So, our natural state is one when we are at peace, there is no stress, there is no turbulence, and we are in a state known as homeostasis, which is a psychosomatic equilibrium, which means that our blood pressure is within its limits, the body temperature is within its limits, the blood sugar and other parameters are well within limits. So we can say that dharma is the design intent of any entity. So similarly for other entities, they will have their own parameters where if they are in those parameters, they will be in a state of in their natural state. So the natural state is one where we operate well within our zone of comfort. As we know, this world is Maya or a phenomenon. And so how does this phenomenon work? What happens to us when we receive or we give a stimulus, a response or we get a stimulus? First, we manifest. This is called darshana. The person who is seeing us receives the stimulus and is called drishtu. What the other person sees is drishti or vision. After seeing that, the person responds based on his or her natural state. This response is decoded by us as feedback of what we manifested, and that goes to determine how we view our sense of self-worth. Now, the congruence between the manifestation and the feedback will determine the quality of our natural state. So, if there is enormous congruence between what we have said and what is as we get as feedback, we will be very well within our natural state. However, if the feedback is very different from what we have manifested, then we will have a lot of turbulence and we will move away from our natural state. Thank you for watching this episode. Please do like, share, and subscribe. And for more information, please do visit my website www.schoolofyoga.in.